Hello, everyone. Welcome to our ritual of the month. This is our time to really come together and ritualize intentional living. This is the embodiment of it. This is the practice of it. Taking the time to sit down and have these rituals in our lives that allow us to be present with what is happening around us and within us. And this month, we are ritualizing the last quarter moon in Sagittarius. And it is Pisces season, but the moon moves every 2.5 days. So this specific last quarter moon will be in Sagittarius. And we have done rituals on the podcast and YouTube for the full moon and the new moon as well, I believe. And I wanted to do something a little bit different because I think that the full moons and the new moons can be really dramatized or romanticized and talked about, and that's important because I think they're important and can be very helpful energies to tap into, but the phases in between are just as important. Life, it's not just about us at our brightest and us at our darkest. It's every single step it takes to get to each moment in that journey. I wanted to talk about the last quarter moon. And if you want to hear more details about this specific moon and the energy of it being in Sagittarius during Pisces season, what human design gates are present, and all the background, the details, all of that, that is over on the podcast. So I highly recommend you head over there and listen to that. You can also read some of those details on the substack about this. Here, I really want to focus on our ritual, on embodying that practice, tuning into ourselves and what we're feeling, and kind of getting out of that logical thinking mode. And while it's helpful to know the energy going on and the history of the last quarter moon and what that means, it's even more important to tune into ourselves and think, how am I truly feeling right now? Yes, last quarter moons are this time where we're transitioning into the new moon, so transitioning into this darker phase, and our energy might be slowly dwindling, and we might be feeling more emotional or soft or vulnerable or fatigued, or just having this inward process. Yes, that is the energy that last quarter moons hold. But there's so many layers on that. As I was saying before, the moon being in Sagittarius, the sun being in Pisces, what's going on in the world, who you are, where you're at in your cycle, all these things. And so the most important piece is to tune in and tap in and to take these rituals and these moments to assess how you are feeling, because the rest can just be helpful information to process and understand and reflect on. But the core of it is what's happening for you, and not needing to know why, or not needing to understand that, and just accepting that and working with that and processing that. So as always, we start with setting our intentions. We lit our candle, which opened up the space. And I want you to take a moment to tune into your heart and an intention that might be calling towards you for this ritual. A lot of us might be coming to this space very scattered, or there's a lot going on, or we might be feeling guilty for taking time to slow down, or we might be really excited to pause and tune in. We're all coming with something different, but taking that moment to set your intention for how you want to show up for this ritual, what you want this ritual to mean, how you want to open yourself up to it, that is really important. And we want to take that moment to set the intention to fully open the ritual. So an intention I can share with you, if this feels good for you, if you want some inspiration, is: I welcome into this space my true heart's desire, my guides, and all the elements of nature. I'm open to what I need to hear, release, and receive. And with that, the circle is open. And my personal intention is to be really present and hold a grounded, open, soft energy for all of us here today. Before we get into anything else at all, I want you to take a moment to fully arrive in this space, land in this space, not just with your body, but with your mind, with your presence, with your energy. You don't need to leave behind anything else that's been happening in your day or in your life. It can all exist here. You don't have to leave it at the door. You don't have to ignore it or push it away or just try to be present, but you do have to be here. You do have to let yourself be here and not fully somewhere else, not fully consumed with the rest of it. Imagine you are taking all your to-dos and your stresses and your anxieties and your fears and your hopes and your dreams, everything that's been on your mind and in your world recently, and putting it into a little backpack. And the backpack is here. It's on our altar. It's here in the ritual with us, but it's not completely unpacked and we're not untangling the web right now. We've neatly put it away. It's here. We know it's here. We acknowledge it. And we're working with it. Part of why we show up in this ritual is so that we can show up for everything in the backpack fully. So just put the little backpack on your ritual, let it be here, and then let yourself be fully in the ritual. And take time setting up your altar. Be intentional with setting up your altar, because again, that's a huge part of the ritual. Choose really intentionally what you want to put on your altar. Take some time to be with your herbs, to sip your tea, to smell your herbs, to smell your candle. Just be here. If that's your whole ritual, taking a moment to set up the altar and then breathe with it, that is so perfect. I wish that was a ritual that we did every day. It's also something that you can take into other areas of your life. Maybe you really intentionally make your bed in the morning, or you clean up your space. Again, it's reminding us how these simple moments in our life can be a ritual, can be intentional, can be an act of self-love and self-care in the most meaningful sense of the word. So let's talk about our altar really quickly. Again, if you want more suggestions and details, head to the podcast or the Substack blog, but I will share what I have with me today. So I have my candle. I chose my nutmeg and vanilla scent because I wanted something grounding. With my sage incense. For my water element, I have some snow. And I talk about this in more detail, but I just took a big scoop of fresh snow from outside and had a little moment where I connected with nature, and the water really represents the ever evolving form and nature and the ebb and flow, and the way that water is so constantly changing and adaptable and willing to do that. It represents the willingness that we need to change, and how whether it's ice or water, whatever form we might take, it's all beautiful, it's all needed. And after ritual, I'm going to take the snow, probably melted by then, and pour it back out into nature to represent letting go and releasing the energy that was brought up in this ritual. Since this phase of the moon is a time of releasing and forgiveness and shedding and letting go, it represents that as well. Then for my earth element, I have my crystals. I was going to pick up some more stones and sticks and rocks from outside to bring in that earth element more, but I felt drawn to keep it simple and to pick out my favorite crystals and go with that. And then for our last element, spirit, I've been having a lot of conversations lately about spirituality and different words that people use to represent that presence for them, what that means for them, whether it's God, the universe, spirit, guides, intuition. It's so personal, and everyone's on their own phase and journey with that. And I think that people can have a lot of conditioning or judgment or expectations or shoulds around what spirit or spirituality should be or mean or look like for them. And so I want you, for this element, to write a letter to what this is for you, whether it's a guide you have, or to the universe, or to God. And if you don't know, if nothing comes to mind, or if you're feeling confused or overwhelmed, what you can do is write, what do I need to know about my spirituality? Or what is a message I need to hear right now? Or what does spirit mean to me? And again, letting yourself write with no judgment or holding yourself back. It could just be a few short sentences to place on your altar. And just like spirituality and spirit and God, our altar is a form of that can have mixed messages or feelings for people. And for me, the altar has become something that is an important point for me in my spirituality and in my rituals, because it's a physical representation of my connection to nature, of my connection to spirit, of my connection to myself, of the importance and intentionality that I put into these rituals and into living in this way, seeing my altar. I remember I have this physical connection point to these rituals. Even in my everyday life, I can walk by my altar when I'm stressed out and have this remembrance of these rituals I create for myself and this energy and these connections. And it brings nature into our lives. It brings God more physically into our lives, and it holds the energy. It's a container, it's a space for us to put those meaningful pieces of our lives on. And it can be as simple or as intricate as you like. It can mean anything. It can be anything. It could be a chair that you place a crystal on. It doesn't have to be anything super crazy. It's about what that holds for you and what that means for you. And there is no right or wrong. Okay, and then we have our herbal companions. My recommendations for this ritual are milky oats, yarrow, and turmeric. And as you can see, I have a lot of my herbs behind me here. And I have milky oats and yarrow in here. I also have nettle in here, no turmeric, but that's the mix I went with today. And you can use your herbal companions in any way that feels good for you during this ritual. You can have it in a body oil, in your candle, in your tea. You can have just the dried herbs and put it out in front of you. Whatever you feel called to around that. The herbal companions, they hold an energy that can help us connect to the energy and intention we are tapping into for this ritual. And so it's about tuning into how you want to connect with that. And if there's another herb that's calling to you, that's perfect too. Again, it's very intuitive. I chose these intentionally for the energy we're calling in and for the energy of this time, but I don't know what every single person listening to this is going through. So tune into what feels good for you and what feels right for you. But the herbal companions are also a way to ground down, to have this full-bodied, embodied experience of this ritual, whether it's drinking the tea or touching our body as we put body oil on, or just bringing nature more physically into our space. I think working with herbs is such an important part of ritual, and for me it's a big part of my spirituality, so I always emphasize bringing them in. And now we're going to move into some physical movement, and it's very minimal and gentle. We're going to come to our knees and find the form of this movement that feels comfortable for you. If coming on your knees isn't accessible, you can do this standing. You can alter this in whatever way feels good for you. But we're going to do grounded sun salutations. And when you get in the flow of this, you can really just let it be what you need it to be. Let your body move in the way it needs to move. I felt really called to share a practice that is close to the earth and really gentle and grounded, because I think we need some more grounding right now. But you can do a full sun salutation, you can do half sun salutation standing, whatever feels good for you. It might be helpful to place some extra blankets or pillows under your knees to have a softer foundation underneath you. But come to sit on your knees with your hips to your heels. And as you inhale, you're going to raise your arms overhead and start to lift off of your knees. And then as you exhale, we're going to bring our arms down to our side and start to bring our forehead down to the earth. And inhale back up. If you would like, when you bring your forehead to the earth, you can come all the way into child's pose. Or when you come down, You can keep your butt up into the air and just have your forehead and your knees touching the earth. And if you have some energy stirring within you and you want to move fast through this and have some slightly shorter breaths, you can feel free to do that, or you can continue to take it slow or move even slower. Sometimes it takes a lot more energy and effort to move slowly than it does to move fast. So noticing that. And closing your eyes and just noticing the subtle feelings in your body. A lot of people really miss the nuances in yoga because they're so worried about doing things right or it looking a certain way. But the impact I have found the most in yoga is about closing my eyes and noticing the smallest feelings and sensations in my body. Noticing when I rotate my arms, how it feels in my shoulders, and noticing the tightness in this corner of my neck, and noticing how that feels different as I keep going. So really closing your eyes and tuning into the subtleties in your body and how that's showing up in your body and how your breath is feeling in your body. I recommend, however fast or slow you are moving, to keep your mouth closed, breathing in and out of your nose to help regulate your nervous system and ground. Even if you shorten your breaths a bit and move a little bit quicker, still stay connected to your breath. Still maintain that connection and maintain that intentionality. So I recommend doing this for at least 5 rounds. I mean, it depends how fast you are moving. And if you'd like to stay in one position, you can feel free to do that. You might notice the desire to do something different. And if you feel this natural, intuitive pull to shift into a new movement, feel free to do that. But if you just find yourself getting bored or distracted or questioning the purpose, wanting something more intricate, then try to stay where you are and try to just come back to your breath. And when you are ready, we will come back to bring our hips to our heels, and you can place your hands on your heart. Keep your eyes closed or your gaze soft, and just notice any sensations in your body. Notice the beating of your heart. And take a moment and tune in to how you are feeling. I think one of the most common things I talk to people about, especially in my one-on-one mentorship, is being able to assess how we are feeling every day and really taking that seriously. Not pushing it away or ignoring it or prioritizing other people's needs or other things in our life, but really taking the time to know our emotions and get comfortable with feeling our emotions. And not just happy, sad, good, bad, but the nuances, the layers, the intricacies, really understanding them and understanding the different layers of all we're feeling, because we're very rarely feeling one thing at a time. That is our next practice, is tuning into that. So you can come back to a comfortable seated position and grab your journal or a piece of paper and a pen, and write at the top of your page, how am I feeling? How am I feeling? And you can even write, really, truly, how am I feeling? And then I want you to begin a stream of consciousness journaling session purely about how you are feeling. And I want you to give yourself some boundaries with this. Whether that is, I'm going to do this for at least 5 minutes, whether I'm going to write at least 1 page, whatever feels good for you or you have the time for, the capacity for, but push your edges a little bit, because I think only once we do that can it all come in. And the other boundary with this is you cannot stop. You cannot stop writing. You cannot think about it. You cannot try to make it sound really good or be a certain way. Just write. Just write about how you are feeling. Even if somehow it gets off the topic or you think it's not related, just let yourself write. Just see what comes. And then once you are done, read it back. Yes, I want you to read it back. And from what you read, write out at least 5 words that summarize what you wrote. And look at the words you wrote and take time to process them. Are you surprised by these emotions and by these words? What is this revealing to you about where you're at, what's happening in your life, what you need? What are they telling you about your emotional state right now? So I want you to pause and do all of that and really take your time. Give yourself as much time as you can to write and sit with it and process it and assess it. And then come back. And we are going to move to our reflections. So the new moon is associated with winter, and therefore the last quarter moon is associated with autumn. And so when we talk about the season of autumn, a lot of that energy relates to every last quarter moon that we go through. So although we have those external seasons going on, we also have these other seasons and cycles that are impacting us within that. So start to reflect on, what are you ready to release right now? What did the full moon earlier in the month shed light on for you? Are there any patterns popping up in your life that you are ready to transform? How do you need to prepare yourself for inner winter come the next new moon next week? Take some time to journal on that. Again, these questions will be on the blog post. But I've noticed that last quarter moons are often time when people are at crossroads. They're trying to figure out which direction to take and whether to hold on to something or let something go, or shift directions, or transform something into something new. And so let yourself reflect on what crossroads are coming up in your life right now, what decisions are being made right now, and how that is showing up for you. As always, our reflections are going to transform into our intentions. We let what is revealed to us through this processing and reflecting show us the way forward. Maybe take a moment to read back everything you wrote and ask yourself, who do I need to forgive? What do I need to accept? How do I need to transform? And those answers most likely will show you what your intention can be for this ritual. And if you did our ritual for Imbolc at the very end of January, our theme was around soft devotion. So that energy and intention might still be present for you right now, because we are still kind of in this Imbolc portal until we get to the spring equinox. So you can bring those intentions into this. You get to decide how long you hold on to this intention, how long it's serving you, how long you want to repeat it and connect with it, and how you want to incorporate that into your life. Our community intention at Intuitively Wild is, I'm willing and ready to release and leave behind what is no longer serving me, to make space for what is asking for my devotion. Some mantras you can play with. I'm willing to change. I'm open to forgiveness. I'm ready to release. And my favorite, I embrace the discomfort of uncertainty with a curious mind and an open heart. That's been my intention and mantra pretty frequently recently. You can choose one of those or create your own. Write it out somewhere that you can see it regularly, ideally every day, whether that's in your journal, on a card that you put in your mirror that you can repeat while you're getting ready for the day, whatever that is. We want to connect to these intentions as often as we can to really ground them into our being, to really embody them, to really bring them into our everyday life in an intentional and ritualistic way. If you want just one word to connect to, some suggestions are forgiveness, release, open-hearted, willingness, and reprioritizing. Okay, so now you should have your intention, you should have your word, and you should have a dedicated action step that you are devoting yourself to regarding this intention, whether it's simply to repeat it every day for a week or to take a certain action that will help you get in this direction, whatever comes to you. But also, I recommend writing that down on your card or in your journal as well to hold yourself accountable, to remind yourself. And that action is just as important as the whole rest of the ritual. When you are ready, come back to placing your hands on your heart. And I do this so often in my rituals that it now feels like a mini ritual I can do at any time of day. Just the moment of placing my hands on my heart, closing my eyes, and taking a couple of breaths is a ritual that I can connect to over and over and can bring me back to my bigger rituals, to the energy and the intention I create in them. So the repetition can be really impactful. But with your hands pressing on your heart and your shoulders soft and your breath even, thank yourself for showing up. Really acknowledge the devotion and dedication it takes to take the time and space for yourself in this way, and to prioritize it, to see the importance, and to take the action to follow through on it, and the courage it takes to release and to let go and to reflect and to decide to make changes in your life and to be fully present for and alive in your life. And you can sit here for as long as you need to or want to. And when you are ready, you can state your closing intention, which can be as simple as thank you, thank you, thank you. I tend to say something along the lines of thank you, guides, nature, intuition, my heart for leading me through this ritual. I promise to stay open and connected. The circle is now closed. And after this, I'm going to pour my now melted ice outside. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you for taking the time. I hope it served you. I hope it was exactly what you were needing. And I hope that the effects continue to ripple out over time. And I will see you guys very soon.